All right, so I went ahead and bought a few screws. They're M3s, 25 millimeter. So that's these guys right here. I bought them at the local hardware store. Um, I'm thinking they should do okay. I might need to put a washer in the front, but we'll see when we get there. This here is the old gear from the previous extruder. So before I take it out, just as a reference point on the flat side, I'm going to take a Sharpie and make a line just so I know more or less where this gear was. So that way I will line up the new one with there. So I'm going to take my Allen wrench and loosen this and take it out. Here you can see on the back that so much material have, been shredded that it was even stuck on the back of it. And you can actually still see even some here on the gear area. I'm going to go ahead and put the new one. And again, I'm going to line it up more or less where the old one was, which I think that should be fine. I might have to move it depending on how the new lever lines up. At the moment, I'm assuming it'll be about the same, but you never know. Just going to tighten this out a little bit so it doesn't come out loose. I don't need a screw jumping around. So that's the gear. As I showed in the previous video or segment, I put this screw here, this screw down here. I don't know if this one belongs down here, but I'm putting it on there to tighten against this. So I'm gonna mount the two bottom screws first. Let's see how they fit. They're 1 millimeter longer than I had estimated, but we'll find out right now as I'm hand tightening it if it's hitting the back or not. Doesn't feel like it might not be. Let me just put this one and get my wrench. So I got my M3 wrench here. So it feels tight here, but it's loose here. So I will need to add a washer. So as I said, I had estimated 24 millimeters. Unfortunately, they did not have them at the hardware store, so I had to buy 25. So let me go get some washers. All right, so I happen to have two M3 washers. I also have two lock washers. These are regular flat washers. I'm hoping these will do the trick. I don't want to put the lock washers just yet if I don't need to. So let's just try this screw by itself here first. So let's see if that tightens up. Okay, that tightened. So let's put the washer on the other side. Again, if you could get 24 millimeters, you don't need the washers. So I loosened these tools just so I can adjust this. As in the previous one, I am using the little lock washer for this screw because this screw is a little long. So I do need to use it on that one. So let's put this one on here. So I think, let me make sure that all the hole is lined up by putting the screw on it. And then I'll tighten those up. So that's on there. So let me tighten the other sides. Okay. So let me use my other Allen wrenches to tighten these. I hate when that skips. These are supposed to be metric, but I'm finding sometimes some of these on this are a little smaller than the number says. At least they feel smaller. So I have those tightened. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put the lever. So here's our lever. So I'm gonna get and put it. I have my screw with the little insert. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this on there. And it seems that this barely reaches. That's interesting. You can see right here, it just barely jumped. Just barely grabbed right there and it jumped. So that presents a problem. Let me try it over the top. Yeah, it barely comes out. So obviously I need a screw that's at least 2 millimeters to 3 millimeters longer. So let me see if I have one. Let's move this camera over. Alright, so I'm gonna try one of these. These are from the other one that went down here. It is a little longer. I'm not sure if it's too long, but we're going to find out. It is a little bit too long because the grommet itself is moving around a little bit. So I am going to have to put a little washer in there. This is a very tiny hole here. So I think I might need to use a lock washer. So let me get one. Okay, so I have this very tiny lock washer that should fit this inside the hole for the gear. It's the same type of washer that I use for here. They're M3s. So right now I'm trying to see if I can get it inside. And it's going in. It's kind of tight, but it is going in. So let's see how that works out. And make sure it's all the way in there. Yep, it's all the way down to the bottom. And I guess that'll help lock this screw in place. Okay, that's good. The grommet or insert is not moving at all. And this has very little play. So that's how I think it should be. The gear is lining up very nicely to where I feel it should be. At least that's where I feel it should be. We'll find out if I need to adjust it. So next I'm going to put the spring. This screw is all the way up, or should be all the way up. So I'm going to insert this spring and screw the same way I did the other one. Bottom first, squeeze it down, and try to get it in. That's pretty tight in there. I'm worried it's going to jump up, so I'm going to use a little plier. Okay. So it's not lined up yet, so give me a second. Just need to adjust myself here. Okay. So let's push this down. We'll screw it down. Make sure it falls in the hole for the screw, and you'll feel it. So I'm just going to tighten it a little bit. I can tell you that just stability wise, it does feel a lot better than the previous. I don't like the fact that the spring tends to curve into the gear area. I'm wondering if I loosen it and I turn it, it'll bend the other way. Let's see. It seems to be. Turn a little more. Yep, it turns the other way. I just really don't want it, you know, near the gear. That feels tight. It might be too tight, but let me loosen it a little bit. So this, it's our previous wire or Teflon tube. There is, let me bring this up a little bit. You can see the red filament that I've been using ABS in here. So I'm going to try to, you know, push that down. So I'm just going to push it by hand through the tube to get it to come out. So it's coming out. Okay. Now I do need to put the bottom Teflon tube. And I've been putting it so it just barely, I can barely see it right here. So that way I can line this up. So let's try to push this down. Okay, let's see. All right, we're going down. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna turn it on and fit the filament. You're gonna hear the fan. And you heard the beep. Again, I have not really adjusted this, so I'm just gonna try to push it in to feed the filament into the hot end. So right now it's heating up to lotus. I'm just gonna pause this for a few seconds. Alright, so the hot end is up to 200 C. That noise you're hearing is the fan for the hot end that's been making noise. I do have a replacement for that, but I'm not gonna put it right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it and feed the material down. So it went down. So now I'm going to try to extrude a little bit of material. So I've set it to extrude 20 millimeters. I want to see if it skips on me. It looks like I didn't put enough, so let's try a little more. It may not have fed all the way into the hot end. Okay, I can see it coming out of the hot end. Let's do a little more. It doesn't seem to be skipping. But again, it's not printing. Let's see. Well, I guess it seems to be working. Next I'll try to print something with it. I feel this one's going to work a little better, at least from the perspective of stability, because to me this feels a lot more stable. It just feels like it is as it should be. But we'll find out through printing. Alright, so I'm doing a test print. I'm doing the bed test, and I should note that that gear right there is a little smaller than the one that it had before. So if you do change your extruder and use a different gear, you will likely need to recalibrate the extruder steps. I didn't do it, and I can actually hear it sort of clicking once in a while, and I realized I didn't calibrate it. So I will be calibrating it after this is done, and that should take care of that. As you can see, it's working pretty well. It still has that vibration noise, but as far as the quality of this is not bad. But again, I did not calibrate it, the extruder, so I do need to do that. So remember to do that if you replace your extruder.